So, with the upcoming release of Patapon, I decided it might be a good time to go back and finish my own playthrough of Patapon. Yes, I'm doing a calm intro today, want to fight about it? My experience with this game is seeing it for most of my life, never having a PSP, being disappointed I can't play it, finally being able to play it as an adult, and then being punted by RNGesus into never finishing it on my first attempt at the game. More on that later. Patapon, for those of you who don't know, is a silly little game with silly little guys that worship the player as a silly little god that you need to help do everything to the beat of music. Sillily. Here's a fun little thing before we get started. Although these underrated little goobers are not playable in the washed out game of PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale, they have their own stage where they very much manage to defeat Hades, Lord of the Underworld, in the background. Hades from God of War, not to be confused with Hades from Hades, or Hades from Kingdom Hearts, or Hades from the epic musical.
There's no Hades in Epic!
Or Hades from the real mythology.
Listen to me!
So as early as the title screen, we can see my old save file named Larry. Stupid 4-letter cap makes me look like an idiot. And having two Larrys would be silly, so we'll change my name for my current run. Do we put in Who in honor of my new YouTube channel? That's a little boring. Let's go with
Patapon stomach rumble. Patapon need food. Patapon need food now.
But we're getting a little ahead of ourselves in hopes to show people my quirky personality and trick them into watching the remainder of the video, wanting to entertain people and help them be happy. Disgusting, I know. Let's go over the opening plot. Now, before we begin this section, let me just turn on the only music that's appropriate for telling a story. Perfect. In ancient times, so around 1990 or further back, the Patapons were courageous, unmatched, and completely dependent on their ruler to accomplish these things, the great mighty Patapon. With the guiding hand of the great mighty Patapon, no foe was too strong, and the Patapons could even reach the farthest land on their seemingly flat earth and gaze their beautiful, innocent eyes on it. The strength of the Patapons was legendary, until one day, the great mighty Patapon disappeared, leaving the tribe without guidance, making them incredibly lazy. We as the player will take on the role of the returning leader to the little goofballs, signing a pact that's casually waved in front of our face, saying, "Hey, I got you, bro. We'll be strong together again." Now that we're contractually obligated to help out our anthropomorphic Unity primitives, we are given the Pon drum, with a suspicious circle on it. While the circle drum is entirely worthless by itself, we are fortunately given an even more suspicious square drum that has been guarded closely by this little flag bearer. With what is barely a tutorial on walking, in one of the few games where walking would actually need a tutorial, you quickly help the flag bearer and a few other Patapons escape from a wild beast. We then return to camp. There, we are presented with one of the only important named Patapons, Priestess Midden.
Hiya papaya.
Hiya, papaya?
Papaya.
She will guide us by giving us our next story missions, which will include our overall higher goal, gazing at it. It is never hinted at what it actually is in the game. Our curiosity is what's supposed to guide us to want to find it. Do you think a modern person would be incredibly impatient and just Google what it is in Patapon? Time for gameplay and how the game actually works. At its core, Patapon is an RPG mixed with a rhythm game. These charred meatballs cannot so much as walk without the beat of the war drum you use. The player will have to remember 4 different beat combinations that make their Patapon children do anything. The two most basic ones are Pata Pata Patapon to walk and Pon Pon Patapon for an attack order, well, you know, in rhythm. You'll need to keep a cool head while doing all of this. If even one of those 4 notes is out of beat, you'll trip up your beloved Patapons and put them in danger. Now, can you imagine living your life this way? You can't even so much as walk without a disembodied voice chanting your own name at you. Back to the game, as you can imagine, as you develop more and more different 4-note combinations to put in, it can spread your decision-making skills a little. For example, say you see a creature readying to breathe fire, so you want to put the song to block attacks, but you already started putting in the attack song, which starts with a Pon note instead of a Chaka note. So in the microseconds between these 2 beats, your brain will need to figure out that it needs to commit to the attack because trying to block now will just fail the song, making your brainless chibi army do nothing, which would be even worse. When we first start on our journey, our earliest mission is simply to go on hunts and have our dumb little babies gather food for the tribe. Immediately in this first area, we are presented with a clue we need to decipher. Zaza. I'm sure the game reviewers got stuck on that one. Oh lord, the X button doesn't do anything yet without the corresponding drum? What could it mean? Patapon has little puzzles like this throughout it. While the stage select screen appears to be an entirely linear map, you will need to select stages in the correct order to progress in a smooth manner, sometimes repeating them like returning to the Zaza sign once we have the suspicious triangle drum. If we choose to openly ignore the context clues our priestess gives us and go to the desert anyway... Me Patapon's all on fire! Me avatar is on fire! I'm on fire! So as you might have noticed, despite the game's innocent appearance, you will actually have to read and pay attention. A weakness to most modern humans, unfortunately. I myself missed rescuing a farmer NPC for way too long during this run, unaware they existed. So how does interacting with a sign help us cross the desert, you ask? Well, once we interact with the sign... We got a hidden level from this basically that upon completing gave us our final drum and the ability to perform miracles. Now that we have all the drums, I can point out that they show their Sony roots even on the Switch version, having the PlayStation symbols all over them. That's right, Patapon is a dirty girl that left its home platform. Sony is even in the credits. Get it out of your systems. I'd personally like Tokyo Jungle and Gravity Rush to be miraculously brought over as well, but you know, how and why would that happen? Back to Patapon, miracles are special songs that have a larger effect than a simple 4-button command. You can perform them while in fever mode. Ah, I forgot to explain fevers. Do I need to? In short, Larry do good, Patapon do good. I do better when you do better. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. The first miracle you see here is the rain dance. But here's the tricky part. The rain miracle won't last for your entire journey through the desert. So if you mess up your fever and can't play the miracle again when your rain runs out, while not the hardest thing in the universe or anything, it's surprisingly strict for what is literally the tutorial for performing miracles in this game. Other miracles, that I found anyway, include wind and an earthquake. I found the miracles to be somewhat lacking because they didn't seem to have much use outside of the one-time puzzle that you had to use them for. The last two things we need to cover are materials and equipment. Items drop in this game, it's nothing too fancy. However, the RNG on the items seems to have a fairly broad range to them. In these examples, you can see that I got the best wood material in the game on my first run of the first boss, and it turns out it will be the only time I ever get that material during this run. You can also see me get a horse and lance for a cavalry class before ever unlocking the class. Those were all story missions at the time, and the drops are still random, with a few exceptions. So a large part of how much you enjoy or struggle with this game is going to be left to chance. This is the primary thing that would be in charge of the difficulty a person might have with this game. Moving forward, creating a new Patapon happens when Datapon and Priestess Maiden get together, dig a hole in the ground, and heft sticks and rocks into it. Depending on the quality of items you use, you'll get different colored Patapons with varying degrees of usefulness, with the drawback being that only the most basic of Patapons are capable of wearing hats. In this first game, there are 6 classes of Pon I did not bother to remember the names of. Melee Pon are your sword and shield wielders, a basic class. Spear Pon are mid-range class, with Archer Pons being almost identical at a far range. Horsey Pons do hit and run tactics, but are extremely weak if you can't keep up your fever. Fat Pon are slow, healthy, heavy hitters, and finally, Freaky Pon visually disgust me, and I'm choosing to be ignorant of their existence because I want nothing to do with them. I don't care if they're the best class in the game. Datapon said, ew! So of the 5 classes in this game, in this one we'll be attempting to beat the game with only the 3 most basic classes.
Why?
In my first attempt at this game, I used the 2 range classes in the game and Horsey Pon, but Horse Pon were so powerful that when I actually had to stop and think about what I was doing, I realized they carried me so hard I didn't really know what worked and what didn't. If things go south, we'll switch to the Horsey Pon as a last resort. With this strategy in mind, let's explore the remainder of the game from the perspectives of Noir, Kuro, and Nero. As we continue forward in the game, beyond hunting down dumb animals and fighting large dinosaurs, we continue to raise our precious and violent savages. We watch them with a guiding hand. While not mandatory, or even an actual option, we, the Great Datapon, name all of our precious children. Early on, we create 3 frog-like archers to the call of Ribbit, Licky, and Spinnet boys, but like a real father, I only bother to record footage of the first one being born. And later, we create powerful spear throwers such as Zatu. There's also Captain Gunner, who leads the charge with reckless abandon. While all of these Patapon played their part, the only ones with me through my entire journey were Noir, Kuro, and Nero. While Patapons cannot be named, that does not mean they are not individual. If you look in their stats, you can see how many missions they have been on, how many times they have been reborn, essentially how long the Patapon has been with you. Noir, Kuro, and Nero are our spearmen that we received during the tutorial, our first supporters, ever by our side, forever with us in the war against the Zigatons. Zigatons are red-eyed, square freaks completely unlike our adorable circles. The Zigaton tribe, fearful of our Patapon who only want to march across the planet to see it, decided to strike first. In Zigaton prophecy, it is believed that Patapons walking the earth is a great danger. It is foretold that when our single-minded doofuses seek out it, that all life on Earth will be destroyed, the Patapons leaving a trail of destruction in their path. That's what I got anyway. It can be somewhat difficult to read some of the plot mid-battle while staying in attack rhythm. My inputs would cover up their text as well. Throughout the war with the Zigatons, our trio of Sonic heroes were not so easily defeated. Whether it was strange weapons of war, enemy soldiers, or the priestess being kidnapped, the group was steadfast, ever ready to throw an absolute wave of spears. No matter what the danger was, these three would fight, be downed, and party until the sun came up. All seemed to be well, until the day we fought Gain. In Patapon, your valiant rotund warriors are brought back to life from battles they fall in by burying their hats in the ground. They are then reborn anew. You will have to retrieve the hat in battle to bring them home with you. This makes the permadeath of units something of an afterthought, because as you might have noticed, all your units are smashed together in a group. It's rare to miss a dropped hat when they are literally right on top of each other. That's why I didn't notice and failed my children. The first time you fight Gain, it can be a little overwhelming. He's one of the first boss fights where you can use the retreat song to dodge attacks, and he's a golem that fights with futuristic ancient technology. During a moment of retreat, Gain shoots his laser eyes, making the retreat command useless. Due to weird placement, I don't even notice what's wrong, but in that moment, we lost the first of the trio. Noir had fallen, and I can't even edit a dramatic way that it happened, since he was running for his life off-screen at the time. Kuro and Nero are left with each other. They remember their brother as a hardened warrior, as they continue on their journey, now wanting to see it on their brother's behalf. Pausing the story of our sibling duo for a moment, it's not much longer after this point in the game that we approach the level I got stuck on before. Attempting the battle the first time, I see if my Patapons are in better condition than they were in the first run of the game. I lose, and it feels like something of a difficulty spike. On my previous boss battle against the Yellow Crab, I didn't even lose a single army member. And with the weapon and material drops I've received during this playthrough, I would estimate that I'm in even worse condition than in my previous attempt. But giving up isn't something we do on this channel, because I don't know how to make an entertaining video about quitting. At first I attempt to grind for materials through minigames to make myself some stronger soldiers. There are a variety of minigame songs that you can do that will give you material drops without needing to go hunting. They're fun in the beginning, but the lack of getting the rewards you want from them along with how long they take make them feel tedious. But I do notice when I can't play. A cook that needs vegetables I have never found in the wild. This is where I go and find the farmer I mentioned earlier, the only way to get vegetables. After literally farming and then cooking, we can now make stew that I assume we just pour directly into the eyeballs of our little warriors. Eating before a mission boosts stats, Monster Hunter style. So does eating this make me finish the mission? Technically no. Turns out the mission I was stuck on has a scripted order to defeat the enemies. While the cavalry keeps all your Patapon far away, you have to destroy the tank behind him first. You can do this somewhat easily by using the Wind Miracle to make your arrows go farther and past him more frequently. The stew just made me alive long enough to play the Wind Miracle on a whim, thinking I might as well try to take that thing out first from how much health this guy has. When the tank gets destroyed, the pony Zigaton is so dumbfounded he stops fighting and stands there, letting you defeat him in a single blow. But still, getting our soupy wasn't for nothing. The following battles are more or less health walls and stat checks until the final boss, and with some of my melee fighters genuinely using default equipment still, I think we needed the help. Fortunately, the final battles are some of the few places with mandatory equipment drops giving us excessively large and evil-looking hats to give to our troops before we face our big bad. Returning to the story of our brother duo, they have made it. As the story has progressed, out of the fear of Patapons destroying the world, the Queen of Zigatons has decided to stop us by summoning an ancient evil that will destroy the world before the Patapons can. Yeah, she comes off as a bit of an idiot in this game. She's either misleading her army, or it's possible I never quite figured out what she's doing because every time plot comes up in this game, it's mid-battle while my brain is too busy doing... to read. Regardless of details I've likely missed on the why, she stops us before our final confrontation. Using her magic, she throws glitter onto my precious little babies, forcing them to sleep. Cute! Before the meteor shower that lights them all on fire. As the battle rages on against the Queen, she is quick to pile up the bodies, with only the ranged troops seeming to be able to much help against her. In the chaos of battle, I fail once again. In almost the exact same way as his fallen brother, Kuro lights on fire, runs off screen, and perishes. Many were down that day. Most were revived. I'm sure Nero sat there, wondering when his brother would come out from the ground as he always has with him, but he never came. This leaves Nero with only one mission left, to fight the ancient evil, Goral, not to save the world or look at it, but to avenge his family. Before our revenge, we have to replace the fallen Kuro with Private Anguirus, and seeing how poor we did in that battle, we attempt to grind for better equipment to no avail. So with our luck being that of a one-leaf clover, we decide to march anyway and fight the boss while unprepared. Nero is antsy after all, and he wants to bring home the head of Goral, even at the cost of his own life. Okay, I'm tired of being dramatic. Time for vengeance. Vengeance, 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 vengeance! Goral's opening gambit to intimidate my Patapon does not frighten the Spherical War Masters. If anything, they see it as a weakness and just attack while it has its opening scene. Single-mindedly, instinctually, the fight begins before Goral's ready for them. The Patapon are ready to send this pathetic dragon to hell. After all, they already defeated every Hades, obliterating the one from Epic so hard he doesn't exist anymore. The only difficulty we have in this battle is Captain Gunnar, bless his too loving heart. Upon hearing the name Goral, he practically throws himself in her arms, letting Goral get in a permadeath instant killing attack on him. But I have decided we are not going to lose another. Having falling in such an obvious and cinematic manner, we try again, and again, until Gunnar decides to be fast enough to dodge the attack. Quickly following this, we down the wretched Goral. Keep singing, boys, we got more work to do! This form mostly just charges at us with reckless abandon, and looks more frightening. Goral continues to switch between the two forms until it happens. In the final moments of a long and exhausting battle, Nero throws one of his many spears, and an entirely different random Patapon falls to Goral. Nero's perfectly fine, and I wrote half a script about him under the false pretense that he fell in this battle without triple checking the footage. You were supposed to fall here! You were supposed to fall here for the art! You're ruining my Patapon drama no one asked for! I made myself sad writing up to this moment for nothing, you jerk! Fine, I'll forgive you. Putting the ruined moment aside, once we resume, we finally can grace our eyes on the fabled and legendary It. Our Patapon, the anthropomorphic eyes that they are, stare at what they believe to be It. That is, the morning sun. This is the greatest ending in any video game ever made. You brought your dumb little army all the way across the continent, destroyed monsters, had a war against a rival tribe just for your moronic children to stare at the sun and genuinely go, "My eye!" in pain. Something about this ending is incredibly satisfying. After said silliness, the Patapon, unsatisfied with their current level of conquest, decide that couldn't have been the fabled It. After the credits, they are seen working together with the Zigatons, creating a boat. But that ends our Patapon journey for now. But before ending the video, we have one last thing we must do. Welcome home, son. You did great out there. Now, what should we name you?
Bye.